This video is brought to you by hoodbeast.com. Design your own custom hoodies. hoodbeast.com.
So, the ZO2 Prime remix. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Make sure to give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter at @RealSethFowler if you guys haven't yet. But with all that being said, let's get into it. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the Ball family and their controversial sneaker lines. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have strong feelings both ways, whether you respect the hustle of LeVar Ball or you think he's just extorting his kids and trying to make money off them. I started out in that camp when I first started to hear about them. But the more I hear about LeVar and the Ball family, the more I start to find myself kind of leaning this direction. But the reason for this video isn't so much to talk about the balls, but it's more to talk about their sneakers. So as you all know, Lonzo Ball was recently drafted to the Lakers, and of course, before he actually was drafted, he released his own sneaker, the $495 to $695 ZO2. There were a lot of reasons why I didn't like the shoe. Obviously, the price was one of them, but also the fact that it looked like an amalgamation of a lot of different technologies from a lot of different brands. I mean, you can obviously see the resemblance to a Kobe, and then of course you can see the Adidas type boost in the midsole. And the thing that really bothered me the most about the shoe wasn't so much the shoe itself, it was the fact that Lonzo said that it took like 3 hours to design. Now I'm definitely biased towards shoe design because I'm an industrial designer myself. I do this for a living. I design products. I work with factories. I understand how long this process takes, and I understand how important it is to actually put time and effort into designing something, especially something you're selling for $500 to $700. At my previous job, I designed kitchenware for some pretty big brands. Simple stuff like spatulas, spoons, anything really involved in food prep. And it's a lot of stuff that people take for granted. And even then, something really simple like a spatula or spaghetti strainer would take months to work on. You'd have to sketch out the design for a couple days. You'd actually have to build it in 3D, print it out on a 3D printer, and test if the design even worked. You had to work with engineers to make sure the design was manufacturable. You had to work with factories on cost. A lot of times you couldn't produce something because it was just too expensive, or you couldn't use certain materials, or whatever the reason was. Usually cost was the driving factor behind not being able to produce something. But my main point is that to come out with a finished product that was actually ready to be sold in a big retailer, it took months. So nothing against Lonzo Ball. He came up with a concept that he liked the look of, that's fine. The problem was for me is that when you design something that quickly and send it off to a factory, the factory is the one doing all the engineering and all the design work. And that's where the problem is, because at the factory, it's all cost-based. They're gonna design everything, whether it's materials, whether it's shape, whether it's manufacturing processes, to be the cheapest it can possibly be so that they can sell you the end product and make the most money. So essentially what was happening was he probably didn't know what was going into that shoe. He probably thought he did, but I'm sure there was a lot of like really poor manufacturing processes that were going on, or maybe they were lying about certain materials or whatever it was. I just don't think it was going to be a good shoe at all. Now that's all speculation. I never got to try the shoe, and I mean the shoe is still in pre-order, so no one's gotten to try the shoe yet. But all this changed back in August when the big baller brand dropped the Melos. Now whether you're okay with LeVar letting his son create a shoe that makes him ineligible for the NCAA, that's one thing. We're not even going to touch on that. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that. There are two sides to the argument. I think I'm actually leaning towards LeVar's side, which I never thought I'd say, but the NCAA is a little corrupt. Don't tell them I said that, but eh. But the reason the Melos really changed the game is because it actually looks like it's gonna be a good basketball shoe. So when images of the shoe first dropped, everyone thought it was a huge knockoff of the brand Black Rare Metal. I've never tried them myself, but shout out to Nightwing for the review. Apparently it's an excellent shoe. Great materials, great traction, great comfort, pretty much just an all-around winner. So it was assumed that like the ZO2, Melo had just looked at a shoe he liked and said, make this. However, and shout out to Nightwing again, because this is where I heard this information, is that the creators of Brand Black actually have their own separate design consultancy, which Big Baller Brand worked with to create this shoe. So right off the bat, that completely changes the game. Now you have a design team that's actually working on the shoe, and from what we've seen them design in the past, there's a good chance it's gonna be a great ball shoe. Ball shoe, sorry. And now, even though it's still an overpriced shoe at $395, it looks like the reason the price is that high is because they were able to use nicer materials on the Melo shoe than they were able to use on the Brand Black shoe because of cost and manufacturing constraints. So there's a really good chance that the Melos could be a great performer and possibly could even outperform the Brand Black Rare Metals. So that's one thing. But now it looks like re-released the ZO2 as the ZO2 Prime Remix. At first glance, again, it looks like a Brand Black shoe. This time it looks like the future legend. And again, I believe that's because they worked with the creators of Brand Black. So to be honest, I have really high hopes for this shoe now because I think it could actually be a great performer and it could actually use great materials. But this is where it gets tricky, because now you have all these people that pre-ordered the original ZO2, still haven't gotten their shoe yet, and now there's an upgraded version of the ZO2 Prime Remix. So what's gonna happen to all those people who ordered the original shoe? Are they still gonna get the original ZO2? Are they gonna get the new ZO2 Prime Remix? I have no idea. Also, I think it's dumb that they called it the ZO2 Remix because I don't think the original version is releasing anymore. So, I mean, there's just gonna be the remix version that's just out there by itself. I get that they didn't just call it the ZO2 because it might be a little confusing, but I mean, I think the confusion might be worth it because in a couple years, no one's gonna remember the original one and they're only gonna remember the one that actually released. So I don't know. Confusion aside, I think it was a great move on Big Baller Brand's part to partner with someone who actually knows what they're doing and actually creates great shoes. Unless Big Baller Brand wants to send me a pair to review, I'm not gonna be buying one just because I can't really justify spending $500 on a basketball shoe, but I'm excited to see how it does. I'm excited to watch other people's reviews. Hopefully Nightwing will grab one because, I mean, he kills those performance reviews. So I guess in the end, you have to give LeVar credit because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be talking about Lonzo. Lonzo wouldn't have his own shoe. It wouldn't be this whole big thing. I wouldn't be making this video. No matter what you say about the guy, he does seem to be a brilliant marketer, whether he knows what he's doing or not. And I mean, he's killing it. Let's just hope that Lonzo can live up to the hype. That pretty much wraps it up for this video. It was just kind of my thoughts on the ZO2s and the direction of the Big Baller Brand sneaker line. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section down below letting me know what you think of Big Baller Brand, what you think of their shoes, and what you think of the family. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to me, Seth Fowler, if you want to see more content just like this, and follow me in all other forms of social media. The links will be in the description below.